morning, dear friends. Here's yours, Dr. Rajanta. Welcome to Demystify with Ajay. Dear friends, we are in a generative AI series. Before any AI model can create text, images, or code, it first depends on how we structure and prepare the raw data. That's where Pandas comes in. Whether you are fine-tuning a language model on a dialogue dataset, or preparing image or caption pairs for diffusion models, or building a recommendation engine, Pandas gives you the flexible data structures to organize, clean, and label your data. And dear friends, in today's session, we will explore Pandas' two fundamental building blocks. Yes, series and data frames. From simple sequence to rich, indexed tables, you will see how these structures become the foundation for tuning raw data into AI-ready inputs. And dear friends, this series is nothing more than a sequence of data similar to better known as like a type of data such as like list or a NumPy and array. So let me just make use of the starting with the Pandas library. And of course, we are just going to make use of some examples with NumPy 2. And here, dear friends, let me just, as I have already specified, we are just going to have a similar data types as like a list in the Python. So here it is the list, how we just declare a variable in the list as like 5 or 7 and 11. Of course, we can also have some negative numbers, and here we go. So this is the exact list. And if we want to just make use of that list to be executed, so see here, this is the exact element of the list. And of course, it is also similar as like NumPy array, and how here we are just going to make use of a NumPy array, and I'm just going to declare an array here. And kindly observe, dear friends, here we are just going to give the same elements. Let me just have the same examples, and of course some negative elements too. And when on executing, here is the NumPy array. So series is a type of structured data and therefore has an additional feature compared to this two, that is list or NumPy. And of course, dear friend, an additional array of length corresponding to that of the series values has inside label values that identify the element corresponding to the array of values. So this array is called the index. And kindly just have a note of it, how we are just going to make use this. So if we are having, for an example, of course, this is our element. So 5, 7, 11, minus 1 and 4. Of course, here one of the array which is just going to include is the index. And here it is the index as like this. So of course, so here let me just create the series, and here we go, the series, and let me just create it by using the Pandas. And kindly just note the exact syntax, and here we are just using pd.series, and that exact yes is in uppercase. Kindly have a note of it. So let me just make use of the same element 5, 7, 11 and a negative 2 included. And kindly just have a note of it. If I just print this series, and here we go. So see here, as we can see the exact output in a text format, so the exact internal structure of the syntax is based on two different arrays. On the right, we have an array of values, which we just called the values, and which contains the input data, which we just passed here. So that is the 5, 7, 11, minus 1 and 4. This is what the exact input values. On the left, we have inset or self-generated array, which we just say the index, and which there is a sequence of integer ranging from 0 to n minus 1. So where n is the length of the data array, that is the values. And in fact, we can separately obtain the two arrays with the values and the index attributes of the series by like this. So kindly have a note of it, even though we can just make use of, if I just want, this is the series. If I just want only the index, yeah, I can just get it. So see here, it is starting from 0 and it just stopping till 5. So totally we are having 5 elements and it is incremented by 1. So since if we are need to have a particular element also as to have a selection like that, yeah, kindly just have a note of it. To access the value of a third element of the series just defined here. So what I just need is print of ser, and I just want to have the third element. So here it is the third element, which is the index 2. And see here, this is the third element here in this series. Yeah, dear friends, here we can also make use of the n dimensional array. That is also it is possible. So which is the same as to the type of series. So here an array of 2, the same thing only. So with this evidence, yeah, it could be assumed that the operating mechanism of the index is largely similar to the implicit indexes in a NumPy array. But in reality, its features are considerably greater. So in fact, the array index can be enhanced to our liking through an array of labels in the same way as the array values are enhanced. Kindly just see here, dear friends, in this we are just going to add one more thing. So let me just take the same particular series. So here I'm just going to have the same series, and one thing I'm just going to add is, I just change the variable name as series 1 and inclusion of one simple information, that is index. And kindly just have a note of it here. I'm just going to give my own index. It is in a variable. Okay. So when on giving this simple alphanumeric character as label, and kindly just observe what would be the output of this. So see here. So the index array, there are two identical label A. Of course, therefore the values within the index do not have an ordinal value as in the NumPy array, but a semantic value, that is the label must show how report the class of belonging of the corresponding value in the value array A. So concept of a class closely linked to the data analysis, which will prove very useful later, and not a narrow concept of an ordered index typical of mathematical calculation. So here, kindly just have a note of it, dear friends. In our small example, this one, the value belonging to the class labeled with A can be obtained simply. How I'm just going to give it is, see, observe this one. So here I'm just going to give ser1 of that A. And see here, I'm just getting two values. That is with a square bracket of, I'm just providing as like an A. And here in additional, the value of index array can be defined at any type. And here, yeah, the example which we just seen is, yeah, it can be even overwritten default values generated by the series. And let me just have it towards the constructor, and kindly have a note of it, dear friend. So here it is the example. We are just going to use the series constructor, and kindly have a note of it, dear friends. Here I'm just going to give it as like, and I'm going to make a customizing as like R1, R2, R3. Of course, we have 5 elements and it's R5. And let me just see the series 1. Now observe, dear friends, we can see the sequence of values assigned by default have been totally overwritten with the elements of the array assigned directly to the index. And here we just go for the index constructor 2. I'm just specifying it. So here we are just going for index constructor, and kindly just see here, dear friends, how I'm just going to make it is, it is the exact index, and I'm going to create an index here. And when on just making this index, yeah, here I'm just going to give it as like, let me just give as like yay, or even we can just go defaultly as like 1 2 3 4 and 5. Okay, so this is my index, and let I just include the series variable. Okay, so this is what the series, and to this series I'm just going to provide the elements, that is the input element. And kindly just to see here, dear friends, this one which we have already used elements as like 5 7 11 minus 1 and 4. And here I'm just going to provide the constructor, that is the index constructor, which we are already separately defined there in index, that is IDX variable. So that is what here I'm just going to define here. And kindly just observe the series. So the result is practically the same, but the separate management of the creation of the index array can be useful in any projects with many lines of code, or especially with this can be reused several times to enhance different series or other data structure. And kindly have a note of it, dear friends, the series, the correspondence between index and the value. An implicit concept is taken for granted in that example. So the correspondence between the element of the index and the value array within a series is very important and is not fully managed automatically. So it is therefore up to the user to manage it correctly. Okay, let me just, if you want to have a note, so let I just give you one more thing. See here, I exactly have same array here, and here if I just provide, let I give this as a 4, and see here, if I just provide any element exact as an fewer elements, the same thing, that values entered in the series constructor, kindly just see here, I'm just getting an value error. So this is what that particular, the user has to manage it correctly. How many elements we have just provided, how many indexes available, so that we have to give it manually and should be managed correctly. Okay, now let me just go to the name attribute. Okay, name attribute in the series, and kindly just have a note of it, dear friends. If I just provide any particular name attribute towards the series, and if I'm just providing, this is the exact first series. Of course, I have just provided the first series, and if I just want to provide what is there in the first series, kindly just see, I can just give the name of it. So even that internal index array of the series can in turn can have a specific name through the name attribute. Okay, fine. Now let me just see how a series can be built up. Yeah, of course, we have just already seen with the series constructor, and kindly have a note of it, dear friends. Whenever we just create a pd.series functionality, kindly note about the syntax. First of all, it has to be the data where you are going to provide the input data. Next, the index. Of course, you can just provide the customized index here, and the d type, which we just say the data type of the input data. And if you want to provide any name to that series, yeah, you can just provide it. And lastly, it is all about the copy. And kindly just note it, dear friends, defaultly the copy, it would be in false. So this would be always the type of data. So that the type of copy, it always false. Yeah, of course. Let me just see with example. Kindly note it here, dear friends. So here I'm just going to give the fourth series. Let me just have with the same example. And here I'm just going for the fourth, and yeah, so here of course every input data whichever I have just provided, yeah, it is in an integer format. If I'm just want to directly give its d type as a float, kindly observe now the output, how it would be. So 5.0, 7.0, 11.0. Of course, yeah, this, it forces the conversion of incoming integer to floating point. So here the data type is float 64. And dear friends, yeah, we have also made use of the NumPy array. So let me just create a series by using a NumPy array. Okay, so see here, this is what an array. So let I just make an array functionality, and I'm just going to give some values 3, 4, 5, 6, and let be one more. Okay, so this one, how would you able to see this one? So actually, yeah, this is a NumPy. Okay, and when you just make use of the print of nda dot d type, kindly just observe what is the data type of it. It is an integer 32. So the data type of data contained within that exact series. Now I'm just going to make this NumPy towards, that is array, towards the series. So here I just go with the series. So pd dot series, I'm just creating a series with that array. And if I just want to print out the series, kindly just observe, dear friends. So here we just have it in an integer. So the same series is also having the integer type. It is maintained within the value of the series. If we want to convert them to another type, yeah, we can force the conversion to the constructor level by adding the d type explicitly as an argument. Okay, fine. Now let me just make use of this series, and we can make a reference or a copy. So kindly have a note of it. So this is what we are just going to do. So this is my array, and here I just give some values 1, 2, 3, and 4. And if I just want to create a series with that NumPy, so let I just create it. So kindly observe, this is what, by varying the values of element of a NumPy array, yeah, used to build the series, yeah, if we want to make any copies or reference, of course, if the correspondent value in the series also, it would be varies. So how it is possible? Yeah, kindly just have a note of it. If I just changing this towards 0, okay, and if I just want to know what happens in the series, so see here, see the exact value. So the corresponding values in the series itself will be varied. So that is how. So the same goes for everything. Of course, by varying the values within the series, the corresponding value in the NumPy array will be varied at the same time. Okay, so to overcome these consecutions, we will use the copy option set to true. that is passed of the series constructor. And kindly just to see, as I have already specified the syntax of the array, it is in the 20th cell. See here, this exact copy, it is defaultly as a false. So let me just change it to true now. So here I just go with SCR7 and here pd dot series, and here I'm just going to use n, and of course this copy here I'm just going to make it touch true, and let me just give print SCR7 and see here we are having 3 that is the exact 3 index. Here it is 0. If I just purposely make changes towards that, see here I just give 45, and if I just want to make it print of n, so 1, 2, 3 and 45. Of course, the NumPy array has been changed. Let me just see what is the series. So of course, I have just given the value series 7 and see it is not changed. So here, it's the most interesting aspect is to take advantages of many data generating function available in the NumPy library, which allows you to automatically obtain fully values, that is array fully values, useful for easy populating the series. So yeah, of course, you can just make use of so many concepts here. Yeah, let I just make you one more. Kindly observe, dear friend. Here, it is possible to create an array containing random values between 0 to 1. So with the random, I'm just going to create. So let me just create the series here. So here A is the series. Let I just create it by random, and of course here I'm just going to give some 5 elements. Okay, and let me print the series 8 and see here, dear friends. So this is the exact value between 0 to 1, and of course this exact function of random module of NumPy, which accepts as an argument the number of values to be generated. So here we have just given 5 values, and yeah, here we just get a series of 5. And the values obtained will vary with each run. Of course, with execution, these exact values would change. And another similar function that is widely used in this NumPy, it is an range. Of course, a range function, which allows you to generate a sequence of values based on a certain rules that sets as an argument. So let me just create that too. So here we go with the series 9, and here let me create the series, and here I'm just going to give np dot a range of from the starting of 1 to 6. Okay, and here let I just print the series 9 and observe, dear friend. So here it is exactly between 1 to 6. So this sequence has a 5 integer, that is from 1 to 5 it has been displayed. There are many other similar functions in NumPy, as well as like zeros function, which generates an array containing the 0 values. Yeah, you can also make use of that. Let I just give the sequence here. So of course we can use np dot zeros of I need 4 values, and if I just want to execute what is there in series 10, kindly observe. So these are all about zeros. And of course you can just create a series from a scalar value. So let me just create a thing in a scalar value. So here it is the example. So kindly just have a note of it. So this is series 11 and I'm just going to give series of 4. So here is a surprise. I'm just going to get, oh sorry, here it is, of course, one value. So it is 4, a scalar value. And in fact, we have the creation of series with a single element containing the inserted scalar as an argument. So to have an effect like that obtained with a zeros method, the array index must also be entered in the constructor. So it will be the length of the index array that will tell the constructor how many elements the array value or populated. You can also have the same thing here. So see here, if I just give an index, if I just give an index as like 1, 2, 3 and 4, of course, kindly just to see here. Yeah. Next one, let me just create a series from a dictionary. So here we just go, let I just give a dictionary, and of course I'm just going to give a key and a value. Okay. And here we just go for the third key and its value. Okay. Now let me just create the series 12 here and pd.series from the dictionary. And once on to that, let me just display, execute it. So see here. So here we have A, B, C as the index and the value 12, 34, 56 as the value. Seeing the series, it's time to deal with the data frame, a more complex structured data. The data frames are very important since they are the central nucleus around which the whole Panda library revolves. It is therefore important to understand how they are structured within them and learn how to correctly define them within the Python code. But before we begin, we want to let you know that we have divided this exact data frame session into 3 parts, each covering a specific aspect of topic. So by subscribing to our channel, you will never miss any updates and get notified of our latest videos and series. Now let me just go into the data frame. Dear friends, a data frame is a more complex data structure than the series, and it can be considered in simple terms as the extension in two-dimensional of the structure of a series. So starting from the series that is now familiar to us, we can therefore think of the data frame as a set of series of the same length and all having the same array index in common and unified in a column to form a table. So kindly have a look of it. So here we are just going to define a series. Let I just give some values for the series. So this is the 1 and series 2. I'm just going to give some negative values 2 and 0 and a 4, and yes, 3 is another series. So here I'm just going to give 5, 1, 1, minus 3. And kindly just have a note of it, dear friends. Yeah, when on combining this exact series, yeah, with an index of the column. So in this, I'm just going to give something indexed to be as like A, B, C, D. So this gives us to that of data frame. So how the data frame is going to be? So kindly just have a note of it. This is what my index, and here it is my row. So let I just give the column as like in uppercase to be get it differentiated. So yeah, actually here we are just having only the 3 series. So let I just give 1, 3, 5 and 4, minus 1, 1 and minus 2, 0, 1. So 3, 4 minus 3. So this is what the data frame is. But in additional to this useful simplification, we need to add an additional array of the label that is called the column. Here I have just added 8. So this array will have the length equal to the number of columns inserted into the data frame, and each element will correspond to certain column equal to the real index. So let me just start with a data frame. And here, dear friends, there are two different types of indexing that works simultaneously. That is index for the rows and tables of the values, and columns for the columns. Okay, so let me just start with the data frame constructors. Okay, so kindly just have a note of it. So similar to the series, the Panda libraries provides a data frame constructor that allows you to define the data frame. So let I just import pandas, and let I just include the NumPy 2. Okay, so let's just start with the first one. So see here, dear friends, this data frame constructors that allows you to define the data frame object starting from a series of an input values. So here I'm just going to give it, let me just have the data frame 1 here. I'm just going to give data frame, and kindly just have a note of it, dear friends. What is the syntax? The D is in uppercase and F is in uppercase. Okay, so here I'm just going to give the input in a series, and how I'm just going to give is 1 comma 2 comma 3. It is one nested here, and 5 4 5 6, and then to the last here I'm just going to give 7 8 9. So let this be our example, and kindly just have a note of it. This is our data frame 1, how it seems. So as you can see, by passing only the internal values, the data frame constructor is able to autonomously populate the two vector index and column. And it does so by inserting a sequence of integer from 1 to n minus 1. That is what here in the row side we are just able to see. And here the n is the length of the index and columns respectively. If instead we want to have a data frame with all the label values defined in both columns and index, yeah, then we must specify them directly in the argument as an argument of the constructor. So kindly just have a note of it. How we are just going to see it here is, so let I just name this as data frame 2, and here I'm just going to enhance this by adding an index. So let I just give it in the next line to make you clear. So this is my index, and kindly just see I'm just going to make it by alpha. And of course, I'm just going to give the columns also. So to differentiate, I'm just giving it in the uppercase, and kindly just note the output. It is df2. And now we have the index and column array enhanced by the labels. To be able to access these values directly, you can call the attributes as index and columns also. So how this happens is directly by the index. So this is what the index of it. So it's A, B, C. That's kindly just have a note of it. The index, it is in the lower case. And if you want to know what is the column, and here it is in the uppercase. So both attributes returns the data type. Kindly just observe the data type. The return type is object of the type labels. And however, if we want to have only the values contained in the data frame, yeah, we can just recall it only by the values without that index or the column. So here we just go that let we have df2 dot values. So let me just print what is there in V, and kindly just have a note of it. I just want to know only the type of V also. So here the attribute returns a two-dimensional NumPy array. Okay, this is how you can just get it done by the pandas, that is the data frames. And kindly just have a note of it, dear friends, there is an other constructor arguments also there. So as we have seen in the series, yeah, kindly just have a note of it. This is the pandas, and here I'm just going to give the data frame, and kindly just have a note of it. One is the data, the second one, yeah, we have just given the index, and yeah, we have also came to know about the columns and the D type. Lastly, copy. And we can see that the argument that the constructor accepts are the same as those of the series constructor, except the additional presence that's the column argument. So the series did not need this argument since the column are not present in that data structure. As for the rest, the same species may be previously applied. Okay, with the data type, this D type argument, it is possible to force the conversion of the type of the data passed as value. For example, if we want the values within the data frame to be a floating data, okay, so it will be necessary to add this type of to the D type argument. So let me just have how come this can be done. So kindly just have a note of it. Let I take the same thing here and to this new cell. So here I'm just going to add the D type, and here I'm just going to provide, kindly just, it is float 64. And once for all, let me just go with the print. It is df. Let I just give a different variable to get it differentiated. So here it is df3. So kindly just see here. As we can see from the result, even though the values passed into the data frame are all integer, the constructor has converted them to float point. Okay, so the copy argument is implicitly set to false within the constructor. So we don't explicitly specify it as an argument, and here we actually here we use a two-dimensional that is n-dimensional array to value the data frame. We will make a pass by reference, that is the value will not be copied, but it will be the n-dimensional array passed as an argument to be incorporated within the data frame. If we modify the n-dimensional array externally by modifying a value, we will modify the corresponding value in the data frame at the same time, and vice versa. So let me just see it by an example. So kindly have a note of it. So this is an n-dimensional array. I'm just going to make it with an array type, and here let I just give the same value. So this is what my value. So this is what my n-dimensional array. So let I just have the different data frame. So pd dot data frame, and kindly just have a note of it. The first attribute, it is all about the data. So I'm just going to pass that n-dimensional array, and next let I just go with the index, and yeah, here we can just make it any of the things. So A, B, and C. Next I just go with the columns. So here I'm just going to pass it as let me just have A and uppercase B and upper C. Okay, now let we print the output of data frame 4. So kindly just have a note of it. So now if I just do any changes in an n-dimensional array, as here we are just discussing on to the functional on copy, okay, related to the copy argument. So kindly just see here this n-dimensional array here for the first index, I'm just going to change it as some other different as like 4 comma 0 comma 6. Okay, 4 comma 0 comma 6. Now if I just want to go with an NDA, so that n dimensional array, so see here this exact one, it was changed. Okay, it was changed. Now let we print the df4. So see here, it has changed. So in this manner, if I'm just going to give this df4, kindly just see here, I'm just going to make copy is equal to true, and now let I just print the df4 here. So it is already converted 406, and now I'm just going to purposely convert NDA of something. Let I just go with some other rows. Let I move on to this one. Gives us 1 comma 1 comma 1. So now if I just print the NDA, so see here, the last row has been converted, but what happened in the print of data frame 4? So see here, it is not converted. So if you do not pay attention to the exclusive use of one of this variable, yeah, of course, it is not a well-desired strategy. So your risk finding values modified without being aware of them, and thus making the unexpected errors during the analysis of the variables data. And here I just want to add one thing. Why is the passing by reference preferred by default? See, data frames tend to be large objects that occupy large memory space. The same is true for n-dimensional array passed as an argument to the constructor. So in this case, we are carrying out the passage by reference means saving a lot of memory space by avoiding unnecessary operations. So here, of course, we have just done it. And yeah, as we can see the result, preceding result, now the data frame is completely independent from the n-dimensional array used to value 8. This exact session is of the part 2 on data frames. In the previous section, we saw what data frame are and how they are made. We also started using the data frame constructor to create them. And in this section, we will see together the different way of building a data frame depending on the types of input data used to enhance them. But before we begin, we want to let you know that we have divided this session into 3 parts, each covering a specific aspect of topics. So by subscribing to our channel, you will never miss any updates and get notified of our latest videos and series. Let me just dive into the topic creating a data frame. And yeah, we are just going to see various ways to build the data frame. And here it is, the first one. Let me just get it from NumPy array. And we have already seen in the previous section using the value attribute that the values within a data frame are nothing more than a 2-dimensional NumPy array. So it is therefore clear that the simplest and most initiative way to enhance them is to use previously created array as, let me just see it in the example. So kindly just have a note of it. This is the index. I'm just going to make it as like a variable, and to this variable I'm just going to give the elements. Let me just make it A, B and C. So of course this is what the index. So of course by this we are able to know that we are going to have 3 rows, and this is what the column. Yeah, I'm just going to create it by using the same NumPy array, and here I'm just going to give it in uppercase. That's too easily differentiable. Okay, so this is the column, and let me just create the array, that is the element. So here we go. So let me just make it towards the nested functionality. So as we have seen in the previous. Okay, so this is what the element. Okay, so let me just create the data frame, and yeah, of course we already have seen this is the exact syntax that we are just going to create it. And first one, it is all about the data, and second, it is all about the index. Yeah, of course we have created the data from the NumPy array, and the index that is also in an array, and the variable name is IDX. And the next one, it is all about columns, and yeah, we have already specified the columns as like COL. Now let me just print the data frame. So here we go. So but the most interesting thing is to use the NumPy functions that generate values automatically in a similar way to those we used to populate the series. And only in this case, we need two-dimensional arrays. In the series, we used np.arange function to generate an array with a separate of integer. If we concatenate that np.reshape of x comma y method, it is possible to generate a two-dimensional array having x rows and y columns from this sequence. Okay, let me just make it towards that. So kindly just have a note of it. This is what my second data frame. I'm just going to create it. So this is my data frame, and kindly just have a note of it. Yeah, with arange, I'm just going to give the values 1, and this is what my data. And here I'm just going to give the reshape of row comma column. So here I'm just going to give that row comma column. It is of 3 into 3 matrix, and this is all about that index, and last it all about the columns, of course, COL. So now let me just print that data frame. So see here how it is. So the same is true for the np.0 methods too. So here too, we can just make use of that reshape, and in concatenator to convert the sequence of 0 generated into a two-dimensional array suitable to be accepted as the input. So given by the data frame constructor. So if I just want to make the same thing, kindly just have a note of it. What I'm just going to give is, instead of this arange, let I just give zeros. So I'm just going to give zeros. So in that zeros, how many? Of course, it is all about 9. So let I just make this as a data frame of 3. So let I just convert this to. And kindly just have a note of it, dear friends, how this happens. So just view the output. It is all about the zeros, and it is possible to generate an array of random numbers using that rp.rand.rnd functions, and then by concatenating this functions to reshape. That is also can be done here. So let I just try that a random number. So instead of here, this one I have already copied from the previous. So I'm just going to change only the variables, and here instead of a range, I'm just going to give the random. So kindly just have a note of it. So random dot rand n, and here let I just give 9. So this is how. So concatenated it with the reshape. Now let me just have a look of it. So here the automatic value generated function has been used, and it is possible to initially populate large data frame, impossible to do manually. It is writing the arrays by hand, and kindly just to see, at least it is just making it try of a random functionality. Okay, now let me just create a data frame from a series dictionaries. And dictionaries. Okay, kindly just have a note of it, dear friends. At the beginning of this today's session, to facilitate the understanding of the internal structure of a data frame, we had given the example that data frame could be thought of as an union of some series. So having the same index and the same length. Yeah, well, this example is just what we described. I'm just going to give here, and a data frame can be built through the use of dictionary in which the key value pair are represented by the column labels as key and the series as values. So let me just see it. So have a note of it. So this is what series 1 and pd.series, and here I'm just going to give the values. So kindly just have a note of it how I'm just going to give, and here it is that index. So this is what the index, and I'm just going to have this copy of index for the next series also. So this is series 2, and here I'm just giving the series 2, and here it's all about 2, 5, 8, and here it is the same index, and of course the last series which I'm just going to concatenate, and here it's the element which I'm just going to give is 3, 6, 9, and I just copy this. Now kindly just have a note of it. I'm just going to make this exact series as the value, and I'm just going to give it to a dictionary. So this is what the dictionary, where I'm just going to give the key value pair, and kindly observe here what I'm just going to give is series 1, and next it's all about the series 2, and lastly, so here I think you are all able to just observe that this dictionary here, it just comes from the series. And let me create the data frame here. So pd dot data frame, and I'm just going to create it from the dictionary, and let me just print the data frame 6 and observe. So now let's move on to a more complex but general example. So let's say that the series we want to use are not all of the same length, and they are also contained or not, whatever be, so other key values that we do not consider. So let me just have that example here. So how I'm just going to give is, so this is what, let me have this as my example. I copy this, and here the first of all, for this first series, let I just include some more values. So this is what, And here, of course, to the equivalent thing, I'm just going to give the rows also, that is the index. And kindly just have a note of it. This is 258. Let it be the second series. And let me just have one more element in the series 3. So here also I just want to include one more. Let I just make it as a D. Okay, now yeah, here it is the dictionary. A, B and C is there, and of course let me just differentiate this with a data frame 7. So now let me have this output. So see here, dear friends, as we can see from the result, the data frame constructor is able to work very well with dictionary. It is perfectly able to take into consideration all the index label of the series, even if not in all, and based on this align all the corresponding values in a table. If the labels are not present in the corresponding column, it will insert a NaN, that is the not a number, which we just specify as like a missing value. So thus managing a lack of information. So furthermore, the constructor can do this work even if the index labels present in one series follow a completely different order in the others. So from this behavior, yeah, we understand the potential of a constructor such as data frame constructor. So if on the other hand, we do not want to take into consideration that other labels, but what to keep only the values of those those labels established by us. So we can carry out filtering as a manufacturing level without subsequently what we just say, that is cleaning the unwanted information. Yeah, this can be done by specifying only the labels we want in considering as an indexed argument. So for your information, let I just make that here. So to make it as a differentiation, let I create that pd.dataframe alone. Kindly just observe here, dear friend. So this is my data frame. So I'm just going to get it from the dictionary, where here I'm just going to specify only the index which are available along this. So here we go. So now let me print this data frame. So see here, dear friends. So however, there remains a missing value to maintain, to manage some any values if it is not. So as you can see, the working with more general cases, we approach the case of real data in which problems of missing or incorrect data can often arise. Okay, fine. Let me just take one more example, that is creating a data frame from an n-array dictionary. Okay, so let me just make it an n-array and a dictionary. Okay, so see here, a very similar case to the previous one, to use that is an n-dimensional array, dictionary or generic list. Okay, so same rules and same behavior, except that in this case we added an in n-dimensional array. We are just going to make it to populate the index. So since n-dimensional array do not contain this type of information, okay, so anyhow, let me just make use of something related to n-dimensional. I just copy this from here. Okay, so let I just make this as my element, or if I have specified anywhere. Okay, no. Okay, let me just make use of that thing. So here we go. So first of all, NDA, this is what first dimensional. I'm just going to make it so let I just give 1, 4, 7 as one among the values. And here let it be the second, and here I'm just going to give 2 comma 5 comma 8, and the last one it is n dimensional 3. Let me just give the different values. That's 3 comma 6 comma 9. Okay, now what is the next? IDX, that is the index. Okay, let I just create that's true with an array, and here we are making it very simple with the same examples, and kindly just observe. So here it is the dictionary, and what is it? So the dictionary, which it just has the key and value pair. I'm just going to give n dimensional array. So here it is n dimensional array 1. So what's next? Yeah, of course, the second key and second dimensional array, and to the last, here I'm just specifying n dimensional array 3. So now let me just create our new data frame, and this is pd dot data frame. Here, what is the first one? It is all about the data, which I have just given it in the dictionary, dic, the variable, and next all about the index. Okay, so let me execute it and see what is there in the data frame. So see here, dear friend. Yeah. And next one. So previously we have seen one of the session as like pass by the reference, and here let me just go with pass by copy with dictionary. Okay, so dear friends, the data frame constructor has a completely different behavior with dictionary than the NumPy array. In fact, if a value of type dictionary is passed as data input, it will make a copy of all the values contained within it without any passing by reference. So this is so regardless of whether there are series or n dimensional within the dictionary. So in fact, in the case of a series dictionary, okay, so if we modify an internal value of a series, the dictionary will be changed in turn, which is not the case of a data frame. So kindly just have a note of it, how we are just going to make it. So this is what series 1, and let I just check what is there in A, which I have just already given 8. So here I'm just going to make it, I don't know whether I have just already given this series 1. Okay, and let me just try this. What I'm just going to have it in the difference of I think it is 6, where I just given in the series. Of course it is 7. Yeah, 6 and 7 both are there in the series. So let me just have it in the 6 itself. So let me see here. So this is what the exact value, and yeah, we are given this one. So how come the value of A? Of course it is not changed now. So let I just give some different values here, and let me just check it. So we find the same consistent behavior in the case of dictionary of n dimensional, and here too, by changing the value of n dimensional, okay, the dictionary will be changed while the data frame generated by it will not. So see here, where previously we are just having this is as our own NDA. Okay, so let me just make that as NDA 1. I'm just going to give 0 here. Let me just convert it into 0. Now let me print the dictionary, and let me just go towards the printing of df9. So see here what happens. Of course there is no changes happened. Okay. We are just going to create a data frame from a list of dictionary. And dear friends, we have seen that the combination of data types, nesting them one inside the other, and yeah, we can just generate a large variety of structured data in Python. As like previously, we have just seen it from the list and from the series and numpy array, and now let me just create a data frame from the list of dictionary. So see here dear friends, so this one, another very common combination in which data can be found is that of the list of dictionary. Okay, so let I just give, this is the exact variable, let me just create a list here, and of course inside the list I'm just going to give the dictionary. So let me have, this is the key and the value, and let me just go for the next key and the value, and to the key, sorry, let me just give it in uppercase, and the value. Okay, so this is one among the key. And kindly just note, I'm just going to copy this, and because it is all about the series, so kindly just have it. Only the values I'm just going to change here, 4 and it's 5 and it's 6, it's 9, 8, lastly 7. So see here dear friends, this is what my list of dictionary. So this is the exact variable. Let me just have a look of it, how it seems to be. So I'm just going to give a print and execute it. So also in this case, yeah, we can think of a conversion into a data frame through its constructors. Okay, so providing that the elements inside it are properly structured to meet our needs. Okay, so let me just create the data frame, and yeah, pd dot data frame, and let me just give the exact, the data is list dictionary, and of course here we have to give the index, the next attribute, and this index let me just give in lowercase. So this is what the row, that is the index, and let me see, execute it by printing it. So see here dear friends. So of course in this session we also presented how the data frame constructor are able to construct these objects receiving common types of data such as lists or tuples and dictionaries as input, and in different combinations of them. And yeah, next let me just see how to make it with an multi-index data frame also. We have seen how a data frame is structured and how it can be created through the use of constructors. A common operations to learn is how to access its internal elements through selections. So dear friends, before going into the topic, yeah, we want to let you know that we have divided this session into 3 parts, each covering a specific aspects of topic. By subscribing to our channel, you will never miss any update and get notified of our latest videos and series. Let me just jump into the topic that we want to make use of the access, that is the selection, yeah, with the various elements. And dear friends, it is very important to have at least the fundamental basis for accessing these elements in order to start working with this type of objects. So we have seen that the index and columns attributes allows us to access the index objects as substructures of the data frames. In the same way as the values attributes, which returns us the values contained as an n-dimensional array. But very often we want to select certain subsets of values contained within the data frame. So to be able to view and modify them in a simple way. For this purpose, there are two selectors is there. Yeah, one is I location, which we just say index based location or integer, which we are just going to give a sequence of integers starting from 0, and next it is only with LOC. So with help of enormous in this purpose, yeah, this ILOC selections allows us to select the value of data frame specifying the row and column through the corresponding numerical indexes. So how it can be possible is, yeah, of course, this is how it can just make it by row number and to the top column number. So I just specify this with the commands. Okay, so let we define a data frame and we just start working with the selections. So yeah, here it is, and let me just create an ND array. And here I'm just going to make use of the array. Let me just define 1, 2, 3 and 4, 5, 6, next 7, 8, 9. So this is what the array, and let me just define the data frame here. So pd dot and let I just give the NDA as the data, and next I have to specify the index, which is the row. So let I just make it in the lowercase, and of course let I give the columns to be in a differentiate manner. So I just provide it in the uppercase. So here we just go to have the data frame. So kindly just have a note of it. So this is our data frame. So we will be able to access a single value by specifying its row and column number. So by using this ILOC. So let me just give it. So kindly have a note of it. This is what the data frame. And from that, if I just provide ILOC of 0, 1. So actually this selector, how would just make it? Yeah, it just gives the 0. 0 is the row and to that of column 1, and that column it's of this one. That is the B. So here, of course, the column which we just got, it is the row 0 and the column 1, and exactly the element is 2. Yeah, this selection is also useful if you want to select an entire row or an entire column. So let me just give something related to the, if I just want to have a particular row, so 0. And kindly just see here what I'm just making. This is exactly a selection of first row, the every element. So this exact row, see, of course we are just getting it in a horizontal manner, but kindly just see here, it is all about the first row's element, which is just the index is 0. And if you want to just give it in the second column, if you want every elements from the second column, yeah, we can just get it done by using this. So data frame 1, and kindly just observe this is ILOC, and every element in the row. So I'm just going to give the column, that is the every element from the rows, and here the column selection is 1. So here what it is just making is selection of second column alone. So kindly just observe 2, 5, 8. So here we are just getting 2 and 5, and next one is that 8. So dear friends, of course, we are just seeing, as you can see, by expressing a single number, this will be understood as the row number to select. So while if we want to select a column, yeah, then it would be necessary to insert the exact column character which we have just done in the previous, yeah, as like this. For the row number, in this case, it means all the rows, and then the number of columns to be selected. Okay, fine. So next, let me just see the exact example for LOC, and kindly just see here, dear friends, this LOC selector works in a similar way, except that it accepts as arguments, so the labels present in both index and columns to make the selection. So in this case, we will enter the label of the row and column of the value, and we want to select it. So kindly just see here how I'm just going to make it is, yeah, from the data frame 1, I just want to locate, that is the selection where the index is of 0. Sorry, is the index is of A. So what it just means? Yeah, of course, it is the first row. So see here, all the exact element of this row, it would be selected. So see here, the same as we have just seen in the fifth cell. Yeah, it is all the same thing. But here what we are just giving, here we are providing the label. And of course, yeah, let me just see it with the column. So how this is going to happen, let me just give the same example which we just specified in the sixth cell. So to have a differentiate with ILOC and LOC, kindly just observe, I'm just going to give every row and to the label B. So which it just means the second column. So this is how, yeah, this is how we will enter the label of row and column of the values we want to select. And let me just move on to the next one. It is all about multi-index data frame. So let us just make it the heading as multi-index data frame. So see here, dear friends, this exact, in fact, the one we have seen so far have an internal structure with one index level per row and one index level per column. But the pandas libraries allows us to further extend this structure by inserting higher level of indexing both by rows and by columns. So when you have a data frame with these characters, it is generally referred to as multi-index data frame. So let me just create a multi-index data frame from a dictionary of tuple. Dear friends, we have seen that the combination of types to generate structured data at many in Pythons, and they can reach very complex levels of structuring. So some of this can still be interpreted correctly by the data frame constructor. So if the structure is multi-level hierarchy, it can still be converted into a multi-index data frame. So let me just see an example of how a data frame constructor can generate a multi-indexed data frame. It is just with a dictionary of a tuple with a nested two-level structure. So here I'm just going to give the example. So it is of dictionary of a tuple. So let I just specify that, and here observe it, dear friends. So this is a dictionary, and inside the dictionary I'm just providing a tuple. Okay, so this is X, comma, Y, and how for? This is what the key, okay, and I'm just going to give the values that also in dictionary. Kindly just observe, dear friends, how I am just providing it. So this is, let I just differentiate with the lowercase. This is A, okay, and here it is 1. And next one, it is X. I'm just giving it in lowercase. And this is 4. And next one, it is X and comma C. Here I'm just going to give 7. Hope I think so you are able to get it done what I'm just specifying. And yeah, of course, I'm just going to give the other exact labels also. So observe it, dear friend. I'm just going to give Y and I'm specifying it with a small d and let it be 0. And next one, yeah, of course, same Y and comma E. Here also I'm just going to specify 0. Okay, so this is what the first one. Okay, and let I just make this copy so that it would be easy for you to understand. I'm just going to copy this and make it. So now here, of course, wherever the A is specified, here I'm just going to make it as a B. So of course, here it is the value of 2 and it's 5 and next one it is 8. And of course, the y of d is going to be the 0 and y of e, it is going to be the 0, 2. And next, what's next? Of course, yeah, exactly, it's correct. So it is all about the C. And here, I'm just going to make it the value 3, value 6, and value 9. Yeah, of course, it is not at end. Yeah, we are just going to make it for the y2. So y, I'm just going to make it here. It is all about y and this is all about d. Okay, and of course, this one, I'm just going to specify it as -1 and this one as -3. Let it be as xc -5. Next, last but not least, I'm just going to give the last one, which I'm just going to specify is, this one is E. I think you are able to understand what I'm just specifying it, dear friends. Kindly just observe. Here I'm just going to give as -2 and it is all about dictionary of tuples and here it is -4. That's it, dear friends. So kindly just see. So exactly this is a complex structure of the dictionary of tuples. So it is still interpretable by a data frame constructor and is passed as input. Okay, what it is, the output? Yeah, here it is generating multi-indexed. So see here, I'm just specifying it as multi-df. Let me just define it, pd dot data frame, and here I'm just going to give this dictionary tuple to be the input, and let me print the multi index data frame. So see here, dear friends, how we are just getting H, how we are just getting this. So here here, as we can see in the output representation, as a result, the label of index, here it is everything in the lowercase a, b, c, d, e, and the column here it is all about the uppercase, that is A, B, C, D, E, or grouped under other indices as this X and Y, which is in the lowercase, and X and Y in the uppercase respectively. And of course, using the ILOC and LOC selector, it is possible to extract a data frame with a single index level from this multi-index data frame. So let me just have that accessing, that is the selection of it. So kindly just see how we are just going to select it. Of course, it is a multi-DF, and let I just give the uppercase X, and kindly observe by using LOC, I'm just going to make it whichever there in the LOC of the small x. So see here, what we have selected is this exact. So actually the y is not included. Of course, see here 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So however, while remaining within the multi-index data frame, some selection can be made by accessing different subset. So for an example, if we want to access the value of a single column, it will be sufficient to specify within a square bracket. Okay, so let me just give it. So here it is the multi-DF, and kindly just see, I am just providing upper X and upper case A, and see here what we just get, the first whole column of this. For the first whole column of the A, this is what I'm just getting it. So and see, kindly just to see the output, what we just get. So 1, 4, 7, 0 and 0. And also for multi-index data frame, there are columns and index attributes. Only in this case, then we return a multi-index object. So instead of index, let me just give like this also. Kindly just observe, dear friends, this is what that multi, and if you want to know what is the column, here it is. So these are the columns XA, XB, XC, YD and YE. These is the columns. And of course, you can also have the indexes as well. So see here, everything here, it is in the lowercase. So if on the other hand, we want to see the labels divided by the levels, we can use the level attributes also. So for that, kindly just observe. So multi-DF dot columns of levels. So if I just provide columns of levels, kindly just see. So XY in that A, B, C, D, E. And if you want to see it for the same here in the index, here we can just see index levels. So here it is in the lowercase. So however, the use of multi-index data frame can be very complex. It is preferred to extract a simple data frame containing the values we need from this type of objects. If you want, we can just use the LOC or ILOC as we have just specified previously with the example. So kindly have a note of it, dear friends. And we in this session, we have seen the data frame, how they are structured internally, and how to use the index and the column for indexing. And we also presented how the data frame constructors are able to construct these objects receiving common type of data such as list, tuples and dictionaries as inputs, and in different combination of them. And finally, in this section 3, we concluded with a brief mention of most extensive case of structured data, that is the multi-index data frame. And that completes our deep dive into Panda series and data frames. We saw how series can represent sequences like tokens, embeddings, or labels, and how data frames evolve into complete data set that can hold prompts or completion metadata and even multimodal links. Different think of a series as holding a sequence of token IDs from a language model tokenizer. Each token is just a number, but when labeled with an index, it preserves the order of a sentence. Imagine a data frame as your training dataset table. One column for prompts, another for responses, another for metadata like length or style. So that's fuel behind fine-tuning GPT-like models. Suppose you are training a multimodal model. A multi-index data frame can link an image ID with a multiple caption or a user ID with multiple chat session, preserving hierarchical structure in one data set. So these data structure are not just programming conveniences. They are the bridge between raw data and generative AI models. Every fine-tuned LLM or every diffusion model, every retrieval augmented system, they all begin with structured data, and Pandas is often the tool that prepares it. If you found this session helpful, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to stay tuned for a next session in generative AI journey. And hit the bell icon so you never miss a chance. See you in the next session, dear friends. Thank you. Happy learning.